I love when you called it a committee call.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for braving the storm, literally and metaphorically, to be here with us on this very important day. During my tenure as governor, we've celebrated our progress protecting women's reproductive rights. We've made great strides passing the Reproductive Health Act and protecting health care providers. But today's news of a Supreme Court opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade is a sobering reminder that our work is far from over. I know there are people across this country, across this great state, and right here in this room who are scared and angry. I am too. Let me be clear. Even if the U.S. Supreme Court decides to disregard a nearly 50-year-old precedent to overturn your constitutionally protected reproductive rights, abortion will continue to be safe and legal here in Illinois as long as I'm governor. Like many of you joining today, my commitment to women's rights has been lifelong. From a young age, my mother brought me to rallies and took me marching and knocking on doors for reproductive freedom. She instilled in me a passion for activism and fighting for what's right. And every day I feel her presence as we work to protect women and girls across our state. I feel a deep responsibility as your governor to unequivocally advocate for your most fundamental rights. Since day one, Juliana and I promised to champion gender equality, and with your support, that's exactly what we've done. We protected the right to choose in state law and made it clear that women's rights are not up for debate. But now the GOP's decades-long war against a woman's right to choose may finally result in the outcome that we've always feared. If the U.S. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, abortions won't suddenly stop. Limiting access to vital health care doesn't make it go away. It just makes it more dangerous. In the 26 states that have outlawed reproductive rights, women will be forced into dangerous and sometimes deadly situations. And unfortunately, the most marginalized women, poor women, and women of color, would disproportionately bear the burden of this decision. Every single one of the Republican candidates running for governor this year has campaigned on stripping away a woman's right to choose, not even believing in exceptions for survivors of rape or incest. Those beliefs are offensive to the overwhelming majority of Illinoisans. There are extremist Republicans like Darren Bailey out there who have failed women at every turn and wouldn't hesitate to take reproductive rights away if given the chance. And there are other Republicans who see this as a purely political issue and think they can get away with staying silent on their ultra-radical beliefs. These dangerous politicians don't belong anywhere near the governor's office in Illinois. Unlike right-wing Republicans, I trust women. The government shouldn't be telling women they can't make their own decisions about their own reproductive care. Republicans are waging a war on women's rights today. But next, it will be marriage equality they want to take away. And then it will be protections for marginalized communities and minority communities. The Republican agenda means taking Illinois backward. And we're here to say enough is enough. Let me be clear, despite what they say, Republicans are not patriots. They are taking away your rights, and they are cheering on the death of democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our work cut out for us. The next generation shouldn't have fewer rights than ours. And I'm ready to fight like hell to make sure that doesn't happen. So what comes next? We campaign like our lives depend upon it. Because they do. We have to make sure Illinois voters understand what's at stake. The right to choose is on the ballot this year. What comes next is we fight like hell to ensure that Illinois continues to be a beacon for women's rights, where reproductive health care is a right. I'm ready for the fight. Are you ready for the fight? Are you ready for the fight? Let's go get them, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce to you my partner in governance, the best lieutenant governor this state has ever had. Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
First and foremost, thank you, JB. Aren't you all proud that we have a governor in Illinois who trusts women? I'm Juliana Stratton, and I use she, her pronouns, and I just want to thank you all for coming out today. You know, even as our nation breaks our hearts, we will not be complacent or back down. If you are here today to join our collective voice in opposition to the right-wing extremists that are waging a war on women, know that I stand with you and that we will not be silenced. Like all of you, I am devastated by the Supreme Court's draft opinion showing it's poised to overturn Roe v. Wade. I'm angered by what this means for women and girls across this country who are being told that their bodies are not their own. Women and girls who deserve more, who deserve the basic dignities of bodily autonomy, safety, and equality. Millions of women today have no recollection of a pre-Roe reality, where women had no option but to resort to dangerous and life-threatening means. This reality, one of back alley abortions, where women died due to botched, unsafe, and unsanitary conditions, is what we will find ourselves in once again if and when the court hands down their final verdict. Because make no mistake, overturning Roe versus Wade does not mean women will stop having abortions. It just means women won't have the same access to safe, legal abortions and reproductive care. I'm talking about young women, poor women, black women, brown women, immigrant women, women from big cities and small rural towns, and so many more. So when far-right extremists on the court and even here in Illinois talk about the sanctity of life, don't believe it. They have zero respect for the sanctity of a woman's life. What they really mean is control, governmental and patriarchal control over what a woman can and cannot do with her own body. The fight for the right to choose has never been just about the here and now. It has always been about our future and our daughter's future and the choices that we will or won't be able to make moving forward. And as of now, we know that every person in America still has the right to an abortion, but the clock is ticking. And Republican legislators are racing against the clock to institute even the most barbaric of laws, like the one recently passed in Oklahoma that outlaws abortions even in the cases of rape and incest. Everything that we have fought for is on the line, and the fight is at our doorsteps. So listen as I close. There are not many moments in our lives when we are faced with a fight of this magnitude, but we are not alone. And we are not the first. So many who came before us have laid the groundwork and fought the good fight, and they have passed the baton to us. Yes. And we have to keep running. We can't get tired now. And I know this is a devastating decision, but we can't allow it to take our power. We refuse to let radical Republicans turn back the clock here in Illinois. We wrote reproductive freedoms into state law for a reason, and this is the very reason. And we will fight to ensure that our state continues to be a safe haven for women and families everywhere, no matter what. So I'm motivated. Are you motivated? Are you motivated for this November? All right. Then we're going to do what we have to do. It is now my honor to introduce another partner in this fight who has been a strong advocate for women and families all across this state as the Cook County Board President, Tony Preckwinkle.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank Governor Pritzker and Lieutenant Governor Stratton for bringing us together on this truly grave occasion. Last night, we heard the news that many of us have dreaded for decades, but have anticipated in recent years during the Trump administration with a conservative Supreme Court majority. A leaked Supreme Court draft shows that their plans to overturn Roe versus Wade. Unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember a time before Roe, and I know that we cannot go back. That's right. Let's be clear. The women with the least resources, low-income women, black and brown women, will suffer the most from this decision. This is an issue of health care, but it's also an issue of equity, justice, and civil liberties. I'm so grateful that we have a governor and a lieutenant governor who trust women and prioritize bodily autonomy. We've made Illinois an island in the Midwest for choice, and I'm proud to be an ally in the fight for reproductive justice. While Illinois has already had laws in place to protect and uphold choice in the event of the worst-case scenario, other states do not. As county board president and overseeing one of the largest public health care systems in the nation, a health care system that provides abortions, I understand the importance of accessible, affordable health care. And abortion is health care. Yeah. Let me say that again. Abortion is health care. Let me also say it's infuriating that we live in a country where women may now be forced to carry unwanted pregnancies to term. A country that does not prioritize universal health care, parental leave, child care, guaranteed income, or any of the policies to help mothers and working parents. While Illinois is a leader for these types of policies to benefit parents and families, the fight is not over until every woman has these fundamental rights. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the many organizations and advocates who you see here who have been preparing for this unfortunate reality for decades. We're not giving up. We're not going back. It's time to fight back. Thank you, and I'd now like to bring to the podium my friend, President of the Senate in Illinois, Don Harmon.
Thank you, President Preckwinkle. I spoke at the press conference this morning briefly by design to make room for the voices of all the remarkable women we serve with in the General Assembly. And I will speak today even more briefly to make room for the voices of all these terrific advocates who fight for women's rights every day. What I will promise you is that so long as we have a majority in the state Senate, I will use all the heft of my office to promote the will of the people, to protect the rights of women, and to fight like hell against Republicans who are callously disregarding both the will of the people and the rights of women. The worst thing that we can do is assume that our majorities are unassailable, especially in a full-scale assault from Republicans. So this is what we need to do. We need to send more Democrats to Springfield, like Senator Cristina Pacione-Zayas, Senator Robert Peters. Are there any other Senate Democrats in this big crowd? Send me some more. We need to send more Democrats to Washington to get a little common sense out there, like Senator Jackie Collins. And we need to re-elect Governor J.B. Pritzker. I got a chance. It is now my pleasure to introduce an old friend and one of those advocates who fights for women every day, Bridget Leahy from Planned Parenthood. Bridget, where are you?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am Bridget Leahy, treasurer of Planned Parenthood Illinois Action PAC, and I am so honored to be standing here today with Governor Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, President Harmon, President Preckwinkle, and the other electeds that I have seen here, as well as the great organizations that have joined together to speak to you today. First, let me be clear. Abortion is still legal. As of today, it remains your constitutional right. The U.S. Supreme Court has not ruled yet. Planned Parenthood health centers are open and they are seeing patients. We want to make sure that the public understands that. Because I know this morning there were people who woke up, saw a headline, and became very afraid that their appointment was going to be canceled. So Planned Parenthood is here for patients. But, of course, we have a day where it is very difficult because we saw this coming. It's horrible, it's tragic, but it's not surprising. But we have to remember that because of the people standing here, we have laws in place in Illinois that will protect our rights no matter what the Supreme Court does with Roe. So thank you, Governor Pritzker. Thank you, President Harmon. Thank you to each and every legislator who voted for the Reproductive Health Act, because it protects your reproductive rights as fundamental rights in Illinois law. Still, we cannot ignore the fact that our deepest fears are coming true, and we have reached a crisis when it comes to abortion rights. The draft Supreme Court opinion that soon Roe v. Wade will be overturned and we will lose our rights will turn back nearly 50 years of precedent. Overturning Roe will dismantle the constitutional right to abortion and open the floodgates of states across the country, including every single state surrounding Illinois. And 26 states are poised to very quickly ban abortion. That means half of the people in this country will be living in a state where their rights have been taken away. That is wrong. And the threat to abortion isn't hypothetical. It's actually been happening right before our very eyes. Our neighbors in Missouri have virtually cut off all access to abortion. It's technically legal there, but 99% of people who need one have to leave the state to get one. We know that since September 1st, Texas has banned abortion before most people know they're even pregnant. And we have seen a quick succession of states like Arizona, Idaho, Florida, Oklahoma pass bans. In some cases, they pass multiple bans, for good measure. As I said, what's happening is horrific. It's not surprising. It has been part of a long-term strategy of anti-abortion groups and politicians, and it shows in the starkest terms why elections matter. With our rights at risk, we cannot be complacent. We can no longer say, oh, that's never going to happen. Instead, voters have to know where candidates stand on these issues.
Exactly.
We must re-elect J.B. Pritzker and Juliana Stratton. We cannot allow Illinois to fall in the hands of anti-abortion politicians like Darren Bailey. Make no mistake, Darren Bailey wants to ban abortion. He has the record in the legislature that shows he's not kidding. He doesn't trust people to make their own decisions. In fact, he'd like to make your decisions for you. And personally, I don't want Darren Bailey or any other politician in a doctor's office with me. Those are my decisions to make with the people I decide to consult. We also can't let Illinois be left to someone like Mayor Richard Irvin. He doesn't even have the guts to tell us where he stands on this, right? He waited all day and then finally said, oh, I'm not going to say anything until the actual decision is handed down by the court. Come on, if you're running for governor, let us know where you stand. You know, last night I was in the car and I heard the news, and by the time I got into my condo on the river here, I saw a tweet from Governor Pritzker, and he said this will not stand. No. We won't stand up for this. This is not acceptable. If you're running for governor and you want to lead a state like Illinois, first of all, you have to be pro-choice because Illinois is a pro-choice state. Yes. But at least say where you are. And the silence coming from Irvin is deafening. He's sent the message loud and clear, which means we can't depend on him. And the bottom line is that not one of the Republican candidates for governor will stand up for our rights. The bottom line is that we need a governor that we can trust. Yes. And we need a governor that has a proven record of speaking out and taking action for all of us. We need J.B. Pritzker. Thank you. And next up is Emery Clefetta from the ACLU of Illinois.
Good afternoon. My name is Emery Clefetta, and I am the director of the Women's and Reproductive Rights Project at the ACLU of Illinois. I am proud to stand here with Governor Pritzker and these other defenders of abortion rights here in Illinois. Our message today is very clear. Abortion care remains legal and available in the state of Illinois. There is nothing in the draft decision leaked from the Supreme Court last night that changes that fundamental fact. Over the past few years, Illinois residents, advocates, and lawmakers have worked tirelessly to extend protections for abortion care in our state. We passed a measure that allows for those who get their insurance through the Medicaid system to access abortion care. Illinois followed up that measure by adopting the Reproductive Health Act. The Reproductive Health Act not only codified the fundamental right to make reproductive health care decisions, it also removed a series of antiquated anti-abortion laws from our state statutes, even if they were no longer enforced. Our state's leadership pushed these measures because they understand that people, especially women, are the ones who should be making the decision about when and if to become a parent. Being in control of this most personal decision has allowed people, especially women, to advance in our society in the years since Roe was first decided in 1973. The draft decision we all saw last night presents a dark, hostile view of individual rights. It argues that government and elected political leaders know best when someone should be forced to carry a pregnancy to term. The decision argues that politicians, not individuals, should be able to determine if you can access health care, contraceptives, or even to marry the person you love. It is unprecedented to have a Supreme Court majority take away the rights of millions of people in one decision, especially a right recognized so widely for half of a century. That is what this decision would do. It would force millions of women to carry a pregnancy to term or travel hundreds of miles at great expense. Illinois must be a place where people can travel in order to seek care. We must redouble our efforts to protect the gains that we have seen in Illinois. In this time of such uncertainty elsewhere, we applaud Illinois leadership who have recognized what is at stake and fought to protect these rights here in Illinois. Thank you. And it is my pleasure to introduce Moni Ruiz Velasco from Equality, Illinois.
Moni.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. My name is Moni Ruiz Velasco. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Deputy Director at Equality, Illinois, the oldest, largest LGBTQ civil rights organization in Illinois. We, along with many of our partners, have led the way on LGBTQ protections for decades and stand as part of and as allies with other historically marginalized communities. In Illinois, thanks to our strong advocates, legislative champions, and of course, Governor Pritzker, we have ensured abortion and reproductive rights are fundamental rights and are enshrined in Illinois law. The Supreme Court's draft decision today is violence against our communities. It threatens people's legal right to control their bodies and determine the course of their most intimate personal relationships. Make no mistakes, LGBTQ rights are at the crosshairs next. Our protections are based on the same exact legal basis as the abortion protections. And the same people who have championed the legal campaign that formed the basis for the court's draft opinion have already loudly and publicly signaled their intent to take away our right to marry, our employment protections, and even our right to form intimate relationships free of criminalization. As queer people in Illinois, we must not only care about this, but we must activate and understand that LGBTQ rights and reproductive rights are profoundly interwoven. Access to abortion care is essential to a just and equitable democracy. As is always the case with these extremist restrictions, low-income folks, people of color, and LGBTQ individuals are most directly impacted and harmed. Reproductive rights is a queer issue because we want autonomy over our lives and our bodies. Reproductive rights is a queer issue because teen pregnancy disproportionately impacts queer youth. Reproductive rights is a queer issue because transgender and gender diverse people get pregnant too. Reproductive rights is a queer issue because these bans and restrictions primarily impact low-income individuals, and there's a large percentage of LGBTQ people living below the poverty line. And reproductive rights is a queer issue because we, as members of the LGBTQ community, stand with people of color, with low-income people, and all of those directly impacted by the violence of this decision. We must continue to organize and show up in the streets and with our vote to ensure that our reproductive rights, our right to marry, and our right to have intimate relationships with the person we love are not eroded or criminalized. To my trans, queer, and queer siblings, I ask you to show up and speak up. To our allies and partners in this fight, we can't do this alone. We need to organize, and when we organize, we win. And we must continue to organize because our lives and our democracy and our kids' future depend on it. Thank you. Next, we have Erica Bland Durosini.
Good afternoon. Welcome to SEIU Healthcare. Let me say that again. Welcome to SEIU Healthcare. Abortion is healthcare. We are a healthcare union that represents Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, and Kansas. And right now we stand on an island because Illinois is the state that provides safe access to abortion. But we fight every day for those same rights to be available to our members in Missouri, in Kansas, in Indiana. I'd like to thank Governor Pritzker and Lieutenant Governor Stratton for standing up for a woman's right to choose. As a union of over 90,000 frontline workers committed to fighting to lift healthcare standards for our communities and working standards for ourselves, we have a deep investment in our democracy. And I can tell you something, democracy isn't working when the Supreme Court of the United States is poised to overturn the will of 69% of voters. That's right. 69% of voters in this last presidential election made it clear in the 2020 poll that they wanted Roe versus Wade to stay just the way it is. There's a reason why so many Americans are committed to Roe versus Wade. If you know your history, and for a lot of our members who are majority women over 55, this is their lived history. Roe versus Wade has literally saved lives. Roe versus Wade literally saves lives every day. And our members have other reasons to stand up for Roe versus Wade. We are healthcare workers, and we know abortion is healthcare. What's more, as history has shown us, if we don't have access to safe and legal abortions, then women will suffer. They will suffer from infections and injuries from unsafe, illegal abortions. And far too many will die. Far too many have already died. We won't go back. This will disproportionately affect low-income Black and brown women. Women who have some financial resources, like a middle-class job, have better access to health care, including reproductive health. And if they find themselves with an unplanned pregnancy, they can travel and do what it takes to get a safe abortion, even when there are restrictions. But when you're juggling bills to make it paycheck to paycheck, that's not an option. This draft opinion is dangerous because it's undemocratic according to what voters want, it's sexist, and it's classist. And when you count the loss of women's lives, it's not just dangerous, it's absolutely deadly. That's why I stand here proudly as an endorser of Governor J.B. Pritzker for re-election. Proudly on behalf of our members today to say that the Supreme Court of the United States must recognize that abortion is health care and health care that everybody deserves. And the Senate must do their part in the United States, in D.C., to help save lives by passing the Women's Health Protection Act that can make this not a reality for us no matter what the Supreme Court decides. So we want to make sure that the Senate does their part. We want to make sure everybody exercises their right to vote and ask the questions of candidates who are asking for your vote. Make sure their values align with your values. We will not go back. We will fight forward, and we will make sure that health care and access to abortion in the United States of America remains a right for people in this country. Thank you. And I would like to introduce Bernadette Chapora. Okay. There you are.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Bernadette Chopra, and I am a board member of Personal PAC. I came here today. I didn't want to be mad or sad, and right now I cannot decide where I am. But I'm going to quote our great governor, the strongest pro-choice, pro-women team standing behind me, and I'm going to just quote the two words he said last night: hell no. Am I surprised? No. Am I shocked? No. Absolutely yes. I'm sorry, I am shocked. Today is precisely why Personal PAC has worked tirelessly and relentlessly in the last 33 years, making sure we elect pro-choice candidates who truly believe in abortion rights and reproductive justice is the only way we ensure that Illinois does not go back to the deadly dark days of back alleys. Yeah, we are not going back.
Not going back.
I'm sorry if I can. Pro-choice voters of Illinois, and actually every single voter of Illinois, need to be aware of what is at stake in the upcoming 2022 election. We cannot allow super wealthy, right-wing, super donors to buy election by hand-picking anti-choice, right-wing extremist candidates for the Illinois Supreme Court, for our governor, for the Attorney General, and for the Illinois General Assembly. All it takes is one bad election cycle to take us right back to the days of life-threatening illegal abortion and losing abortion and reproductive rights for the next decade and the next generation. So, here we are. This is our defining moment as to what we need to do to ensure a strong, safe, reproductive rights future for our state, for our children, and our grandchildren, because we owe it to all three of them. And so let's get to work, and let's organize, because we can get this done. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Bernadette and all the speakers today, and I'm happy to take any questions from members of the media.
Governor, you were asked this morning, but maybe some of your partners up there can also answer, as we're anticipating if this opinion holds and becomes official, other states, those people will be flocking to Illinois. What can Illinois do to make that more accessible to those people, and does Illinois have the capacity to help their system?
Well, the first thing we need to do is to get people out to vote for pro-choice candidates. Because this shall not stand. The majority of the people of the United States, not to mention the overwhelming majority of the people of Illinois, are pro-choice and stand with women. So that's the work that we have ahead of us. Now, in terms of the care that will be provided for people, we already have people that are crossing state lines because they come from states that have nearly outlawed abortion or reproductive rights. And so we are providing a welcoming environment for them, a comforting environment at a moment that is perhaps the one in which they have the greatest fear, the one in which they are experiencing the greatest amount of stress. But we have organizations in Illinois, like Planned Parenthood, for example, that are providing excellent care, and we have coordinated efforts to help people who come in from out of state to find a place to stay while they're here, while they're recovering from a procedure or waiting for a procedure, providing them with a meal if they don't have a meal when they come to Illinois, and helping them get the care that they need. We're going to continue to do that and expand a woman's rights in the state of Illinois, because that's who we are in Illinois. Say that again, I'm sorry. Well, I think in everything that we have done, we have made Illinois the place that women are safest in this nation. Right. So my view is that everything that we have done for years now, and especially over the last couple of years, has been designed to create a protection for women's rights, making sure that we continue our legacy as a state. I want to remind everybody that Illinois was the first state to ratify the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which outlawed slavery. We were also the first state in the United States to ratify the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. We're also the first state that elected a black woman to the United States Senate. And we elected the only black president. So we have a long history of standing up for people's rights. You know what we're going to advocate? For changing the laws in all the states where they're outlawing abortion. We're also, like I said, we're welcoming here, but we want to make sure that women who live in Missouri are able to get and exercise their reproductive rights. And the same with Iowa and Wisconsin and Indiana and Kentucky. Those are all the surrounding states to Illinois, our neighboring states. And then we also are, and you can hear our voices all day today, and you will hear many women's voices and people all across this nation until the election, fighting to change what this decision by the Supreme Court will do. Thank you, everyone.